Imagine you are alone in your house. You hear a strange sound. You feel a chill in the air, and then you realize that you are not alone. This is not the beginning of a horror movie. It is the beginning of real stories. In this video, I will share with you real stories of people who live them in reality. I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer and my mom had a window open her room, which was directly behind the bed, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the door frame of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom. This was strange because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3/4 seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up in the door frame and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor and it was maybe a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night, with the deadbolt and chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. This is the late 80s/early 90s. I was around 6 to 7 years old. I am at home with my sister, who is 14 to 15 at the time. We grew up in a small Texas town. Everyone knows everybody. We are home alone this particular night, and my folks let my sister babysit me frequently. We always got along due to our age gap. Anyway, it is about 8 p.m. in the winter. Deserts get pretty damn cold, so it is dark and we are in the common room, since that is where the TV was, watching 60 Minutes or 48 Hours or Hard Copy or some shit. Those 1-hour news pieces on CBS that chronicle large crimes in depth, trafficking, murders, kidnappings and the like. Basically a gritty Lifetime special. This one was a typical story. Guy next door that was quiet went on a rampage in his next door neighbor's house, mutilating them and kidnapping their young daughter. Well, the thing about our house common room is the door leading to the backyard was a large glass door on a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. Nothing but blackness beyond it unless you have the back light on. We did not. The front door is on the other side of the room with a small entryway. This is a solid door, so you cannot see what is beyond it, with a glass storm door on the outside of it. About 45 minutes into the show, they are talking about the ongoing manhunt for this crazy guy, and bam bam bam, front door bangs like crazy. We jump the fuck up and scream like banshees. Dead silence now. The only lights on in the house are the kitchen down the hall from the common room we were in and the light from the TV. We start thinking something on the porch. We had some planters and a rocking chair out there had simply blown against the door. This was West Texas. Crazy strong winds out that way. Well, a minute or two of silence and us holding each other post-adrenaline overdose passes. Just when we are about to declare everything is safe, we hear the storm door on the outside of our front door close. Fuck, someone had to have opened that door to be able to bang on the front door like that. Shit. We are both frozen in the middle of the room on the floor where we had been watching TV. My sister crawls over to the TV and turns it off. It was an old TV, so you had to turn that metal dial to switch it off. which it does with a mildly loud thunk. Now it is just us in a room dimly lit by the kitchen light down the hall. I do not remember how much time passed with my Frozen and my sister still crouched by the now off TV. But we kept making eye contact, then looking at the front door. I remember this part vividly. I am on my knees sitting on my feet and I turn around to look at the back wall of windows and glass door. We hear and I see the back door knob turn. It was locked on the knob but not deadbolt. It rattles slightly as if someone is gently trying the handle. Neither of us make a sound, just held breath. Then bam 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 loud as all hell, someone is trying to force the door open, just jerking it back and forth. The whole wall of windows is vibrating violently, and I can see with each jerk of the door how my slight reflection gets fuzzy, then clear, then fuzzy. My sister flips her shit and screams bloody murder. I am still frozen on the floor. She gets up and basically drags me into her bedroom, slams the door, throws her mattress and anything she can in front of her door. Thankfully she had remembered the phone. One of those ungodly heavy beige plastic long metal antenna portable phones. We still had to direct dial the sheriff there, and in her panic didn't remember the number. She just hit redial on the phone. It was one of her friends, and she tells them in broken gasps that someone is trying to get into our house and needs to get there right fucking now. The profanity sticks out here more than anything else. Who knows? Young brain. I am curled up on the floor and cannot stop shaking. We don't hear anything else until we see the headlights of my sister's friend and her parents driving up to the house. We never did find out who was at the door or why. There were no signs of anything happening but a couple of scuff marks on the bottom of the back door that we could not remember if they were there beforehand or not. Nothing like that has happened to me or her since, but for damn sure we never forget to lock a door after that. I'm a girl, and I live in a pretty big old house with 5 Navy guys. My room is by itself out in the detached garage. So one night I'm sleeping out there, and in my dream, I assume, I'm hearing this loud rattling noise. I slowly start waking up, but I feel pretty out of it. I open my eyes and look around, and the noise continues. The door is about 3 feet from the end of my bed, and the doorknob is rattling like crazy. It almost sounds like someone is pounding on it, but I can't tell if it's someone knocking or someone just trying to open it. At this point, I realize I'm really awake and this is not a dream. Even my lab, who never wakes up during the night, is up and staring at the door. I often used to forget to lock my door because we live in what seems like a pretty quiet neighborhood. But thankfully I'd begun deadbolting it more regularly, maybe like a week before. I am terrified. I always hoped I'd be one of those people who responded better in a situation like this, but I was not. The door is still rattling, and I can see the motion light is on and shining through the window in my closet. All my blinds are closed. I am near tears, and I throw the blanket over my head and wait to die. I have literally nothing in my room that I could defend myself with except a flashlight, which I am holding onto tightly. I am paralyzed with fear and just sit there as silently as I can, curled up in the fetal position with my metal flashlight. A minute later, the noise stops, and I finally am able to move. I have a weird closet with a window at the top and a big bench, so I crawl in there, climb up on the bench, and poke my head up. A few seconds after that, the motion light goes out. I'd missed whatever was going on. I run back to my bed and begin thinking logically. I live with 5 guys. They often have people over late at night after going out downtown. I look at my watch and it's 2:30, about the time they get home from bars closing. Maybe someone was very intoxicated and just being stupid, right? So I text all my roommates, trying not to make a big deal of it and sound silly. Hey guys, are you up? Do you have people over? Someone was just outside my door trying to get in. I assume someone must be drunk or something. Ha, kinda creepy. Less than 2 minutes after that, I hear the back door to the main house swing open. I hear whistling and banging, and my roommates are running around the backyard with baseball bats. Thankfully one of them is a light sleeper, and he woke up and got another guy up. I open the door, run inside with my dog, and don't go to sleep again that night. My roommates spent the next couple hours patrolling the house and watching out the windows. We never saw anyone, but they did find a pack of cigarettes lying in our backyard along with a bag of Hardee's or something like that. More than likely it was just someone trying to rob us, and because there were 6 cars in the driveway, they decided to go for the garage where they probably assumed no one was and not the house where they'd probably get themselves killed. However, at the time, for all I knew, all my roommates had already been murdered and I was the last one to go. That's what I figured at the time anyway. Anyway, definitely not the scariest story in this thread, but I definitely didn't sleep for a while after that, and it took me about 3 weeks to start sleeping out in my room again. It didn't actually happen to me, but it happened to my mom when she was a teenager. My mom now is in her mid-60s. She's not an overly religious woman. She doesn't read the Bible regularly, rarely goes to church, but she prays every night cause that is what gives her comfort. I'll have to side note this with I watched normal horror movies with her every so often, nothing too crazy or gory but spooky if you will sort of stuff. Well, I asked her if she wanted to watch The Exorcist and she flat out 100% refused. She said there is absolutely no way she will ever watch anything related to possession or exorcisms. Well, this was curious, so the movie Constantine comes out and I show her the trailer asking her if she wants to watch it. She sees the girl near the beginning climbing the ceiling and just refuses again. I should also note, my mother will refuse and kick you out of her house if you even think about bringing a Ouija board into the house. She'll yell, scream and cuss until you drop the subject, and that's that. This is important. Alright, so that little backstory is out of the way. I ended up asking her why exactly she refuses to watch those sort of movies. Well, she tells me when she was a teenager, at a sleepover at a friend's house, they were up playing games, the parents watching TV. Her friends and herself are on the floor playing a board game, a game my mom has never played before. Well, come to find out it's a Ouija board and she doesn't know what it does. Well, they start playing asking a bunch of questions. They end up finding out there is a spirit in the house, so they ask it to show itself. Nothing happens. They demand it to show itself. This was her first indication something wasn't right, 'cause the lights all around the house, every single room went out immediately including the TV, and then snapped right back on. Spooky, huh? Nah, just a fluke. They ask the next question. Who are you? The piece moves round the board in big circles with their hands on it and stops at the letter D, moves to the letter E, then to the letter V, I, L. Wow, someone must be messing with it. This can't be real, so they ask, if you are the devil, then show yourself. Nothing happens for a while, and then suddenly the TV goes out. Well, in the reflection in the TV sitting in the living room next to them, my mom and her friends, even her parents could make out the shape of something terrifying just sitting there, next to them. The house got extremely cold. Suddenly loud noises could be heard in the kitchen, stuff flying off the top of the refrigerator and cupboards opening and closing. They immediately stop the game, close it up and throw it in the trash, never to play one again. Later that night my mom is sound asleep and is awoken by something loud and clanging on the roof. She listens intently and she can hear what sounds like chains and dogs up on the roof. Well, that's not possible. It must be outside somewhere. She wakes up the next morning and goes and talks to her friend's parents, asks them if any of their neighbors have any dogs. They tell her no, and they tell her they also heard the dogs and chains up on the roof last night. So that's the story of why my mom refuses to watch anything that involves exorcisms. She truly believes that the devil was there with them that night, sitting next to them. And the messed up thing is, every time she tells me that story, I get this cold shiver down my spine that there is no way she would be making this up.